Alright, hello. I thought I would do a little educational video for those who don't know these things regarding homelessness. So, if you're homeless, these are some things that you should know. So, obviously, you're going to have to find places to go to the bathroom, to use the restroom. And you have to find places that have Wi-Fi. Now, these days, more and more places have Wi-Fi, but you got to be careful because you got to make sure you go into your settings and make sure that you're actually connected, because your phone can deceive you that you're connected to the Wi-Fi when you're actually not connected to the Wi-Fi and you're using your own data. So be careful about that. If you have some means, some money, regarding hotels. Hotels are expensive in general, okay? You've got extended stay hotels, you've got regular hotels, and then you've got motels and extended stay motels. And the ones that are going to be on the quote-unquote affordable end of the spectrum, most of them suck, okay? Most of them are not clean and may have roaches. So the first thing you're going to look at, obviously, the easy thing to look at is pricing. So apparently they price it by the bed. So one bed is cheaper, and then 2 beds is more expensive, and so on. And if you have a pet, then most places, or I guess I won't say most, but you have to make sure that it's a pet-friendly hotel, because if it's not a pet-friendly hotel, they could potentially kick you out if they catch you having your pet there. And so you have to, that's a decision to make in itself, is, okay, are you willing to try to sneak your pet in and out with, and try not to get caught and all that. And that's also an integrity issue in terms of communication, depending on if you are put in a situation to actually answer someone as to whether or not you have a pet with you. You know, because as Christians, we're not to be lying. Now, if you find a pet-friendly hotel, I think just about all of them, except, I mean, and I'm just sharing what I've learned so far, but I think just about all of them, with possibly the exception of the Motel / Studio 6 franchise company, whatever you want to call it, I think they're the only ones who don't add a pet fee. I mean, I haven't stayed at every single hotel, so I don't know for sure, but I'm just telling you what I know so far. They add some kind of pet fee. So I've heard as low as $10 per night, all the way up to $25 per night for your pet. It's ridiculous. I comprehend that, I guess, for more so for dogs, although some cats, like, see, that's the thing. If you don't spay or neuter your pet, and you don't train and discipline your pet, then, you know, and I guess most people don't do that. Because some cats, yeah, they piss everywhere and everything, all that crap. My cat is spayed, and I've trained her pretty freaking well since she was a kitten. So she's a well-behaved kitty cat. She doesn't do anything outside of her litter box as far as doing her business, and she knows to stay off the counters, and, you know, overall she scratches her scratch post and, you know, whatever. So, but not everyone has a well-behaved pet, so that's why they do it, I guess. I remember I stayed at one hotel when I was in transit from one state to another, and I looked for a pet-friendly hotel or a pet-friendly room or whatever, and I made the mistake of actually saying out loud at the front desk that I had a pet. If I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have been charged the pet fee. So you got to be really careful. Try not, like, you know, try not to mention it if you don't have to, and try not to let them see the pet if you don't have to, because then you could get away with not being charged the pet fee. But that particular place that night, I wound up saying it because I didn't realize that they would charge me an additional, like, I thought pet friendly meant, okay, that includes, like, I thought it meant that it was included in the price. And then the second I said that, they were like, oh, well, that's another $15. And I was like, oh. And then I went into the room. It was a quote-unquote pet-friendly room, and it was disgusting. You know, it smelled, everything was stained. It was just nasty. So there's all that. Then it would behoove you to do your research of looking at what the rating is in terms of people rating the hotel or motel, but that can be misleading. You know, there's no guarantee, and you want to read the reviews. I've gotten into the habit now of reading the most recent reviews, because some places, you know, they try to keep on top of things, and so if there was a bad review from like a year ago or even 6 months ago, they might have rectified whatever the problem was. Maybe. Odds are probably not, but maybe. So I look at the most recent, you know, so I sort the reviews by the most recent of, you know, who was there a day ago, a week ago, a month ago, you know, what did they have to say? Was there roaches, and so forth, okay? Most of the time, if they say that there's roaches, there is roaches. There was one place I stayed out in Manchester where it said that there was roaches, and I went there anyway just because of circumstances and whatever, and I kind of made a fuss about that, like, you know, your review said that there's roaches, can you try to, you know, put me in a room that doesn't have roaches, like, and I stayed there for a couple weeks, I think, and at least in my room, I did not see a roach in that room, so that was good. But yeah, these hotels, and I'm not, like, what I've seen in the hotels are more so of the actual so apparently there's different species of roaches, I guess, or whatever, and I'm not talking about what people call the water bugs, and I mean, you know, we all have, I don't know what creeps you out more, you know, the water bug, quote unquote, roaches are bigger, which is kind of creepy, but then the ones that I've seen in like the hotels, motels, they're all different sizes because they reproduce and they're growing and whatever. And so you've got like little teeny tiny, and then you got the somewhat bigger ones, and they're skinnier, whereas the water roaches can be like that freaking big. But you know, it depends. I mean, I'm talking about pretty much like here in southeastern Tennessee. I've spent about a month living at an extended stay in Colorado, and I didn't really see roaches there. I think I saw one bed bug on the ceiling above the shower in Colorado, the place I was at. But that's something else, you know, bed bugs, you know, all different kinds of bugs. But I haven't encountered bed bugs so far. Hallelujah, thank God. Because you have to be careful, because you don't want these creepy crawlies crawling into your suitcase or your bags and stuff like that, you know. And so if you see bugs in your room, you want to make sure everything's up off the floor, you know, closed, keep it zipped up, whatever. So that's all fun. And so extended stay. So there's Motel 6, and the same franchise has what's called Studio 6. So anything that says extended stay or studio, those are what you would call an efficiency. They have usually a 2-burner stove, no oven, a microwave, a full-size refrigerator. So that's what an extended stay is. And if you go to in-town suites, interesting. So if you go to in-town suites, that particular franchise, they give you 1 roll of toilet paper, and from that point on, you have to buy your own toilet paper. Pretty ridiculous for a freaking hotel, don't you think? And they give you like 1 set of towels, like a you know, towel, hand towel, washcloth, whatever, and they don't come and get them and launder them and all that. You you it's up to you to launder them, and then when you leave, you keep those towels. They don't take them back. The extended stays also have a little laundry room where you can go and pay and use the washers and dryers. Studio 6, I don't know if they have that. I didn't check that or not, but that's like their version of the efficiencies or extended stay, so I would assume maybe they do. I didn't check. I didn't really. I stayed there one night, two nights ago. But now your average hotel motel usually has a mini refrigerator with a tiny freezer and a microwave, but not all of them do. So make sure you ask that if you're talking to someone, or if you're reading the reviews, look for that. But that's something to just confirm is, is there a microwave, any mini refrigerator, because not all of them have them. So the one place, the Motel 6 that I stayed at a few weeks was, they had no refrigerator, no microwave, nothing. And it really just is up to the discretion, I guess, of the owner. But I had someone tell me the inside scoop at that place that the housekeeping people didn't want to be bothered cleaning the microwaves and the refrigerators, and so the owner decided to remove them from the rooms. Absolutely ridiculous. So make sure you check for that. Living in hotels is very expensive. They say online that, it's as cheap as 50 something. So that's like the going rate that I've seen as far as the cheapest. But then, of course, there's taxes and fees. And again, if you have a pet and everything, they can add on pet fees and whatever. But those rooms go pretty quick. And the more in like a city you are, the more in a populated area you are, those single bed, cheaper priced hotel motel rooms are going to go quick. In terms of if you're waiting, in just terms of like hours of the day, the longer you wait, the less selection there's going to be, the less availability there's going to be. And so, one room that might have cost 50 something now is going to cost 60 something, 70 something, because now all that's available is like 2 beds. Now if you book ahead of time and you booked for 1 bed and then they go ahead and give that room away, then it's on them, and then they have to give you another room which may have 2 beds, but they should not be charging you for that. Now, despite the fact that I technically have some money, although a bunch of it wasn't going to hit my bank until today anyway, last night I decided to voluntarily, try living in the car, sleeping in the car overnight. And, I've got a little tiny Honda Civic, so that's more cramped than, most people who have a bigger car these days. But, I made it work, whatever. So, here in Tennessee, in the area that I'm at, there's this one little park, and it's a big lake, and then it's just a bunch of like parking lots, and there's like boat slips where people go, put their boats in the water and whatever. So I went there because it was dark. I wanted to have some like a darkly, or what should I say, dimly lit area. Yes, there was lights there, but I parked in an area that didn't really have the lights like right in my eyes. So everything was fine until about 5 a.m. 5 a.m. I get a cop knocking on my door, on my window, telling me you can't sleep here, even though there wasn't a soul around, there wasn't any garbage around my car or anything like that to show that I'm like littering or making a scene or anything like that. Just, you're not allowed to park there, sleep there. So, I went somewhere where I could use the bathroom, which here in southeastern Tennessee is Circle K. That's what I have found. If they are open 24/7, you can use their restroom. One night I was like really craving like some boiled eggs. Like I guess my body needed that protein or whatever, and so at like, I don't even know, 3 a.m. or whatever, the only place I could go to that I found out had some hard-boiled eggs for sale was Circle K. So in this general area, that's the place to go. Now I know, like where I'm from, originally Jersey, they've got Wawa's open 24/7. There's bathrooms, and I assume that they probably have hard-boiled eggs. I'm sure they do. Wawa has everything. And then up in what was it, Illinois, they've got another franchise up there they basically copied like right off of Wawa. I forget what they called. I forget what the name of the company is, but they basically are like a copycat off of Wawa. But anyway, so living in your cars. Yeah, so I guess I kind of knew this, but I wasn't like really thinking about it or whatever. But I was trying not to go anywhere where they actually have signs posted of like, don't trespass, whatever, right? And I thought I would go somewhere that was dimly lit. So I went to this park where there wasn't a soul around. Nobody was around. So 5 o'clock in the morning, this cop, instead of just letting me be, you think he'd have some compassion, being that it's the first time he found me there. I'm a female, and I'm not saying that I should get preference or special treatment for being a female, but just in general how people can be, they tend to be more lenient towards females at times. But no, this guy was just, like he wasn't nasty, but he just said, hey, you can't sleep here. And I'm like, okay. No compassion, like I wasn't bothering anybody. I was minding my own business. I didn't make a mess. No one was around. No one was probably going to be around for probably several hours. And instead of just leaving me be, he had to shoo me away. So I went somewhere, used the restroom, and then I parked somewhere else. Well, where I parked, I was trying to stay in the nearby area near my storage unit, right? So I just found a place that was dimly lit again, and I parked my car. Well, a little while ago, around just after 8 a.m., I get 2 cops now, and I think one of them might have been the one from prior. I'm not like I paid attention really. I was like half asleep. 2 cops in 2 cop cars coming to deal with me sleeping in my car. So it turns out that, so it was like this little tiny like parking lot on the side of the road. There was maybe like, I don't even know, 5-7 spaces to park. There was no signs that I saw, no nothing. So I didn't know what it was, but it just seemed like a random little parking lot. So I parked there. Oh, this is school property, it's private property, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So, I'm gonna sneeze. Hold on. Tigress, what are you doing? So instead of just shooing me off, oh, now this time he has to ask for my ID. He has to ask for my car registration. He actually checked the VIN of my car, like as if I stole the freaking car. Like, and then he's sitting there asking me all these questions. How did you get in this situation? Blah, 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 blah. Does it matter to you, dude? Right? Like, so I said, well, what's up? Like, am I in trouble? And so he said, no one's looking to press charges right now, but technically they could because you're on private property. And I said, okay, so this would be considered trespassing? And he said, well, technically because you're in your car, it could be considered vehicular trespassing. I had no idea such a thing existed. So you got to be careful if you're going to try to save some money like I did last night and sleep in your car, or if you don't have money and you're living in your car. So what he told me was that Cracker Barrel apparently doesn't mind people like sleeping, or so apparently they call it car camping. So apparently Cracker Barrel doesn't mind people car camping in their parking lots. And then he said otherwise to go in well-lit areas like Walmart and stuff. But like technically Walmart has signs on the side of their building that says, I forget what it says, but something about don't park there, blah, 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 whatever. So that seems like a trap to me. So I don't know about parking in Walmart parking lot, although I know I've seen people do that, So it's really just this game of like avoiding cops, pretty much. But yeah, this guy was like all up in my business. So do you work around here? Is there like a address that you can call home to? And I'm like, no, dude, like, why do you think I'm in my freaking car, you moron? Like, I don't have it, whatever, So Um, pretty girl. Um, so I said, like, he asked me, like, how did you get in this position or whatever? And I was like, well, it's kind of a long story, you know. And he basically made this facial expression of, like, well, I've got all day, share the story, you know. And I'm like, oh my God, like, why? Why does it matter, you know? So, you know, I had to tell him that I've been unemployed for 2 years, and, you know, how I went from Colorado to Tennessee, and I've been in hotels, and that last night I just voluntarily decided to try it out since it wasn't below freezing like it has been. It was only like in the 50s. And then as we're like closing, I guess you could say, he asks for my phone number. Now, he had a wedding ring on and everything. He asked for my phone number, and I said, well, may I ask why you need my phone number? Oh, I have to type up a report. Now, I know that's true. I know the cops have to type up reports, but I don't recall them needing my phone number to do so. The dude had my freaking ID, my car registration, like, you've got my driver's license number, you've got my VIN number, like, why do you need the phone number, you know? So I don't know if that's normal protocol. Maybe the state of Tennessee is different than the other states I've lived in. I don't know. Or maybe he's going to go home and talk to his wife and say, hey, let's call this girl and let her rent her room off of us or something. Who knows? I don't know. But, like, then after that, he seemed genuinely concerned, and he was like, you know, are you okay? I don't, you know, and, like, he made a comment of, like, you're not starving or anything, right? And I said, no, I have food stamps, you know, whatever. So maybe he genuinely cared. I don't know, whatever. But, so yeah, I was able to go, like, pretty much the whole night. Tigress is kind of traumatized right now, I think. I can see it on her face. Poor girl. So yeah, I was able to go most of the night until about 5 a.m. and then they started bothering me. So that's my experience. So you might be able to get away with, you know, being in your car somewhere until maybe like the early hours of the morning. I really don't comprehend, like, the like school parking lot. Okay, I get that, and it was like, you know, like normal business hours, like, or whatever, so that I get. But why the dude couldn't let me just be at the park at 5 a.m.? Like, it was still like dark out and there was nobody around. Like, why he couldn't just leave me alone, or at least tell me, like, hey, you can be here maybe 2 more hours, then get out of here, or something like that, you know? So those are just some tips and tricks or whatever for homelessness. Trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, so just in general, hotels, motels, generally speaking, they're dirty. Especially motels. Motels are very skeevy. They don't dust. The one that I was at 2 nights ago... Tigress, what are you doing? Like, they didn't even, like, mop the floor. Like, you could see that somebody had spilt something, and it was, like, still there. They didn't mop the floor. Like, just nasty. Yeah, actually, twice now that I've been at the franchise of Motel or Studio 6, you go into the bathroom, and, you know, they've got the little, like, soap dish or whatever, and it's, like, ribbed, you know, for the soap. And there was, like, gunk, like, in the, like, soap. Like, just, they don't clean. They do not clean. It's just nasty. So be prepared for that. Be prepared that it's, you know, it's going to be nasty, and it's up to you if you want to take it upon yourself to clean the room or not, or whatever, you know. But, you know, this is part of lowering your standards, you know. And, you know, looking back now over the last several years of my life, I see that the Lord had been like very slowly, gradually working on me to lower my standards, because I used to be OCD, quote unquote, level, like, clean. Like, I used to keep everything, like, what's that word? Immaculately clean, you know? And I mean, I had people tell me that. And then over the last several years of my life, I ended up being in a circumstance where I had to rent rooms privately, and I had to share with other people and all this stuff, and or live with other people. And so I, you know, it took a while, but I had to learn to, like, lower my standards of cleanliness because most people are really not clean. And so now here I am having to live in hotels, and you know, now because of God kind of preparing me for that without me really knowing it, now I'm not freaking out like I probably would have 7 or 8 years ago. So just be prepared for filth and housekeeping. Yeah, don't like, you know, it's funny, when I was growing up, my father every so often would take us on some kind of vacation, even though he couldn't afford it. And we, like, my stepmom was from Jamaica, and so, you know, like, one time we went to Jamaica, and we went to Florida, and, you know, whatever. And so, like, you know, I was used to staying at, like, resorts. Well, I mean, not in Jamaica, we stayed with family there, but, like, when we went to, like, Florida and stuff like that, like, part of the vacation experience, as far as my father was concerned, was, like, staying at a resort and whatever. This is not, don't think it's, these people don't care. These people don't take pride in their work. And if you dare ask for anything, don't be surprised if they cop an attitude at you. So the Motel 6 that I was at, where was I just at? I was at this place called Baymont Inn and Suites. It was Baymont by Wyndham. Now, they were cleaner than most of the places I've seen so far, and they didn't have bugs, but, you know, how they give you that card and you swipe it to get in and out of your room. Well, those things are usually powered by batteries. So I called, and well, the thing wasn't working. And so I called the front desk and I said, first of all, you know, is it run by batteries or is it hardwired? Hardwired means that the power would come through, you know, cables that are in the wall. And she said, no, it's battery. I said, okay. Well, I said mine needs new batteries because it's only intermittently working, and sometimes I have to stand there and like swipe it like 20 times for it to work. And she just had this like stance of opposition of like, well, we don't keep the batteries here, and this, that, and the other, and da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. Can you fix it, please? You know. And she kept like blowing me off. And so, you know, I had to keep calling about getting it fixed. Well, I told you that we don't keep the batteries here. And you know, and so like, don't be surprised that you're gonna, you know, if you encounter just attitudes about like, and this is something that I'm just seeing in general these days, more and more, is that there's no such thing as customer service. That whole mindset of the customer's always right, being polite, being respectful, apologizing to the customer, all that seems to have gone out the window, generally speaking, these days. But expect that with these hotels. So they finally, so one day I went down to the front desk and asked them face to face, like, will you please replace the batteries in my lock because it's not working, whatever. And the manager or whoever was there, I'm going to call the guy right now. Okay, you call the maintenance guy. So the maintenance guy comes up, he looks at it, and then he tells me, oh, I'll be right back with batteries. I sat there waiting for I don't know how long, and I had to go do stuff. So as I walked out, I went to the front desk and I said, look, I can't wait for him any longer. I have to go get, you know, do stuff. And the rest of my stay there, I was there for like another 3 or so weeks or whatever. Nobody followed up with batteries. So they were just adamantly refusing to replace the batteries in my lock. Just crap like that, okay? Housekeeping will knock on your door every freaking day, especially if you are there for an extended amount of time as opposed to just 1 or 2 nights or something like that. They want to be all up in your business, inspecting, seeing what you're doing. So be prepared for like that lack of like privacy and all of that. The extended stay. So I was staying there at first and I was sneaking my cat in and out. So at the extended stay, they don't come in your room every day, although they will try to find excuses to come into your room quite frequently. So officially, when you're at an extended stay, they have 1 day a week, or maybe twice a week, depending on the franchise, where it's housekeeping day, or it's potentially or theoretically housekeeping day, but they don't necessarily keep that, okay? Because they just do whatever they want, but like officially, it's okay. Like, they'll tell you when you check in, okay, Tuesday is your housekeeping day or whatever, or Tuesday and Thursday are your housekeeping days. And so when I was at In Town Suites, they have one housekeeping day per week. And they were short staffed. And so the whole time that I was there, nobody really came in. At that one particular one here in Tennessee. In Colorado, I think they did come in, but I snuck my cat out on that day. I made sure to get up early and sneak her out and whatever. But then there was another place that I stayed at where they just did whatever they wanted. But they were also making up excuses. Oh, like, someone knocked on my door. I have a work order to install a toilet paper thing, and I'm like, I have a toilet paper thing, thank you. You know, I don't need you to come in here. You know, like, so just be prepared for all that. Like, people are gonna, like, the staff will try, you know, will try to come in and, like, have excuses to come in to, like, see what you're doing, check up on you, inspect the room, so on and so forth. So just be prepared for being interrupted, lack of privacy, all that kind of stuff. It just sucks. If you're going to stay at an extended stay, if you book, like, if you make your reservation for, like, a week at a time, 7 days, that gives you some amount of discount, as opposed to just doing it, like, one night or just a few nights. If you do 7 nights, you usually get a discount. Trying to think if there's anything else I've learned so far about all this homelessness business. Oh, mail. So here's how mail works. Okay, so let's say whatever home you had, right, you forward your mail to the hotel or motel. Now, if you're staying at an extended stay, they are more inclined to hold on to your mail for you. If you move on somewhere else, they will hold it for you for a while, usually about a month or so, give or take. Okay, but in terms of the post office, forwarding your mail, once you have your mail going to any commercial business or anything like that, you cannot go the same route in terms of changing your address online, because you can't forward your mail from a business address. And so what you have to do, if you're moving from place to place to place and being transient, like I have been, is you have to keep going into the post office and forwarding your mail from your last, like, stable home address. So that's what you have to keep doing. So, you know, if you were living at 123 Peanut Street, whatever, you forward your mail to the hotel, and now you're going to go to a different hotel, then you have to go to the post office and, again, say that you're moving from 123 Peanut Street to now the new address, the new hotel. You cannot forward from one hotel to the next. And if you're staying at, like, just a regular hotel motel, they may not hold your mail for you. So I was staying at this one, I forget, what was it, a Super 8, and I assumed that they would hold my mail for me. Well, I called them up after a few weeks, because I just had stuff going on and I just wasn't following up with it. So I called them up and I said, yeah, you know, do you have any mail for me? Oh, we don't hold people's mail. I said, well, what do you do with it? Because, you know, if people mess with your mail, that can be like a felony. You know, they can't open it, they're, you know, whatever. So if you tamper with someone's mail, oh, we return to sender. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? So, FYI, if you're staying at a regular hotel motel, they may not hold your mail for you. They may just return to sender, which can then cause you a problem if you're expecting packages, or if people are sending you money via via mail or whatever. So just be aware of that. What else? And I could have tore up pretty much every place that I stayed one way or another in the reviews, but you have to use wisdom. If you're homeless, you don't know whether or not you're going to have to come back to that hotel or motel later again. And so that's why I haven't been leaving reviews, even though I normally would and would love to, and, you know, tell people that, oh, there was roaches here, or it's filthy, or the staff has an attitude, or whatever, because what if I have to go back there, right? So all things to consider. And they pay attention. Okay, they pay attention to your face and your name and all that. So don't think that you're like some faceless guest. Like they know who's who. So so just know that. And if you're staying somewhere that is not an extended stay, they seem to have like this attitude of like, how dare you stay here more than just a few nights. I don't know why they have that attitude, but they do. They have this attitude of like, oh, that's what I've encountered so far, is like, oh, you're staying here that long. Like, at the Motel 6 that I was at, they actually flat out told me, oh, normally they don't let people stay here that long. I'm like, what do you mean let people? If they're a paying customer, you can't not let them. I mean, I guess technically they could. If they own it, they can do whatever they want, I guess. But like, that was just amazing to me. Like, you don't let people stay here. If they're a paying customer, business is business. Like, so just sharing, FYI. Trying to think if there's any other little tips that I've learned so far, but I think that's everything. Most places, in terms of check-in, check-out, most places are check-out about 11 a.m. Some places it might be 12. I think In-Town Suites, they were an extended stay. I think their check-out was 12. Most check-in times is about 2 or 3 p.m. Sometimes they'll let you check in earlier than that if the room has been cleaned and is available and whatever. I think that's just about everything. Oh, so heat and air conditioning. So these places, I don't know why they do this. It makes no sense to me as to why they wouldn't just like build the building initially with like normal heating and air and AC systems. I mean, like I understand that each room has to have its own like unit in terms of controlling it, but like it's this unit that goes pretty much under the window that they can just kind of swap in and out. They never clean them. Okay, it is disgusting. There's dust, which turns into mildew and mold and all that, and so that's what you're breathing in pretty much. They are disgusting, and don't be surprised if they don't function how they're supposed to. The last place that I stayed at, well, besides the one two nights ago, but the place I was at for the last month, I had them, well, I asked them to rectify the situation because, you know, it was getting down to below freezing, and so like I turned it up like all the way to like 90 degrees because it wasn't pumping out any heat. And so I told them that. I'm like, look, I have it on freaking 90 and it's still not pumping any heat. Like, it turns on for like a minute, then it works for like a minute, then it turns off and whatever. So they gave me a whole new unit, I guess, to pacify me or whatever. And same thing. So be prepared for that. If you have your own space heater, you might want to bring that in. And I don't know if that's allowed or not, but I would hide that if you're going to do that. But during the winter, you know, you might want to kind of supplement your own heat with a space heater or something. But yeah, they don't clean those units. They are disgustingly dirty. And that's what you're breathing in. You know, it's just, and it makes no sense. Like, whoever engineered these units, it's just stupidity, because they put it under the window. And first of all, you know, so it takes air from outside and then heats it or cools it and then blows it into the room. But there's like all these holes. So you got bugs crawling in through that unit. And, you know, especially during the winter time, you know, heat rises and heat goes wherever there's not heat, you know. And so it's like when the unit turns off, it gets cool pretty quickly in the room, because that whole unit, it's basically a hole in the wall, right? So just things to consider. Oh, and the whole do not disturb sign thing. Yeah, most of these places don't have that. Most of these places do not have a do not disturb sign. Of all the places I've stayed in the last few months, and even when I was in hotels this past summer, there was one place that had a do not disturb sign. And I pretty much kept it up the entire time I was there, so I was not bothered. And that was a Super 8. They had the do not disturb sign. All these other places, no do not disturb sign. So every freaking morning, housekeeping, knocking on your freaking door. And sometimes they can be really like harassingly annoying. Like one day I was trying to take a shower, and it was like 12 or something. It was like, it wasn't even like they normally do it like in the morning hours, which is also, I mean, I guess they're trying to do it before they have to my battery's going, before they have to, you know, like turn over rooms, because checkout is at 11, so they're trying to do like the normal housekeeping stuff before that, I guess, I assume. But yeah, they'll come knocking on your door as early as like 9 a.m., 9:30, maybe even earlier, depending, but on average it was about 9:30 every day. And then on a Saturday morning, so this past Saturday, I guess they got their mail early or whatever, I get a phone call. It was like 9:30 in the morning on a Saturday. You've got mail. Like, no hospitality, no like forethought of like, okay, it's the weekend, don't wake your guests up first thing in the morning on the weekend. Like, they don't care. So just be prepared. What else? I'm trying to think if there's anything else, any other just heads up I can give you guys. Oh, so some of these places, you know, have a quote-unquote free breakfast, included breakfast, and depending on, you know, which place you're at, that could just be a granola bar. It could be a little, you know, fruit cup thing. Some places have like a hot breakfast, and like, so the place that I was at, the Baymont Inn or whatever, they would make quote unquote scrambled eggs and like sausage, and they had like cereal, and they had like bagels and muffins, but the eggs, I think they were like some form of like dehydrated eggs, and all they did was add water or something like that. Like, that was the impression that I got. It wasn't like freshly cooked like real eggs or whatever. So that's that. And then they had like juice, you know, like apple juice, orange juice, although the orange juice tasted funky. It smelled and tasted funky, and after that first sip, I didn't take any more of it. And of course they have coffee and whatever, but I don't advocate for coffee. And just be prepared, especially at the extended stays, like the in-town suites and things like that. Prepare for the walls to be paper thin. Prepare to hear all kinds of noises at all hours. So at these extended stay places, do not be surprised that you will hear people's, you know, car alarms going off all the time. You will hear people thumping on the walls, thumping on the floor, thumping on the ceiling. There's drug addicts. The cops will show up. The cops will knock on your door looking for other people. Just all kinds of craziness. The place that the in-town suites that I stayed at when I first got here to Tennessee, the people right next door to me, the woman was just constantly screaming and cussing at her child, like so abusive. I felt so bad for her son, just screaming at him and cussing at him constantly. And it's like, normally you might want to say something to the person, right? But being that you know that they're there long term and you might be there long term, it's like, do you want to make enemies, right? So this is where wisdom starts really coming in of like, okay, opening my mouth when I normally would may not be the best idea here. So you have to think about that, you know. I wanted so bad to like somehow say something, and I was even contemplating like how I would say it and all this and that, but like, and then even though I never said anything to her about it, one day she drove by me in the parking lot and she still stared me down like I did something. I'm like, what the hell? Like, whatever. So people are weird, people are on whatever, like, be prepared to deal, especially in the extended stays. So the extended stay that I stayed at, the in-town suites that I was in Colorado, all the people that smoked and whatever, they would all hang out in this one spot, and it became like, and so people live there. People live there for months. People live there for years. Okay, and so they sometimes, like, there's a community there, and they know each other, and just all kinds of crazy stuff going on, of people like sharing drugs with each other, people sharing money with each other, people getting pissed off that so and so didn't pay them back, like all kinds of craziness. So just be aware. It's amazing, the whole like little cultures or whatever. Now, I haven't been homeless on the street, hallelujah, thank God, but years ago I took in a homeless guy, and he was kind of educating me about all that. People that live on the street, they have their own little culture as well, you know, so it's very interesting. But we're going to be seeing this more and more. It's going to be happening more and more. There are people on YouTube already that that's what they do. Like they live out of their car and they make like videos about it or whatever. I don't know. I'm not the first person to do a video with tips on homelessness or whatever, but whatever. So 46 minutes. I think that covers just about everything that I've learned so far. Trying to think if there's anything else. There probably is more stuff, but that's the bulk of it, I think. So, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna charge my phone now, and I need to go find somewhere to stay tonight because I've got money, and I thought that God told me to go book a week yesterday, and I decided not to. I decided to try to you know, see what it was like to be in the car. And it saved me money, you know. I saved probably a good $70-something last night. So we'll see. I'm gonna just pray and see what God tells me to do or whatever, but I just thought I'd come on here and share all this because it's gonna be useful for some of you at some point. So that's that. So again, I just want to thank everybody for your donations. My thinking last night was just, you know, living in hotels is so expensive, and so if I can, you know, try to conserve that money and try to make that money last, you know, be a good steward of it, why not, you know? And I knew that it was only going to be in like the 50s all night, so I was like, well, why not? Let me try, you know, if it's below freezing, then yeah, if I have the money, I'm going to try to get a hotel room, but I figured, well, let me try, you know, let me save some money and see. And I was also just putting off all the decision making that goes into finding a hotel. That's why I was hoping that if any money was going to come in, that it would come in before I checked out of the last place, because I don't have a laptop, and so it makes it more difficult to try to research places and find places. And on my computer, on my desktop computer, I have this little Capital One, what's it called, extension that gives me discounts and stuff, so I don't have that on my phone and whatever. So I'm going to try to find a place, at least for one night, go back to my storage unit, bring my desktop computer to the hotel room, set it up, and then try to find like a place and make a reservation and then go from there. So we shall see. I think that covers everything. So for now anyway. So yes, thank you for your donations. If you're led by the Holy Spirit to donate, it's just my email address for Zelle, PayPal, Cash App. And YouTube seems to be messing with my channel quite a bit regarding comments and things like that. So again, if you want to reach me, you can shoot me an email. That's the best way to make sure that you're going to reach me. And if you're sending me hate mail, you might as well just not, because I'm just going to block you. So, whatever. I think that's everything. Alright, I bless you all in the name of Yeshua the Christ of Nazareth.